Hello all, a Knife Tale here, bringing you a knife summary of a knife I've done a review on before. This is the CKF and Philippe Georget. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I believe it's French. Fif 20. What is this? The 21? 23? The Thief 20 is the base one, and I think it's bigger. This is the slightly smaller one. Whatever it's called, I can't even remember now. I'm doing this completely spontaneously and with absolutely no preparation, as you can see, and no script. So, woohoo! I rarely, if ever, use a script, so it's all just sort of off-the-cuff stuff. But I figured we could revisit this one in a shorter summary format. If you want to see the full review, I will link it down below. Unfortunately, I cannot link this knife, as nice as it may be, because they were very limited in number. They are doing another production of, I think, the Fif 20 at CKF, but the pre-orders for that have closed, so they'll be showing up eventually. I don't know if they did anything as fancy as this, but a quick look at it, since we've already done the review. 3 3/8 blade, almost 8 inches exactly overall, compared to a full-size knife in the Civivi Conspirator. It's a bit smaller. It's pretty much a happy medium size. As you can see, the action is insanely good, and the entire knife is beautiful. It really is. It's wonderfully done and amazing. This one has the Zircuti bolsters and clip, and the carbon fiber scales. There were titanium, carbon fiber inlays in titanium. There were just a bronze version of this, where it's kind of all of this bronze. And this is the fancy version that was much more expensive than the other ones. This is a front flipper only, liner lock. It's a magnificent, wonderful knife. I don't hard use my knives. I've pretty much said this most of the time, especially some of the more extremely fancy ones, and this one is one of those that, while it's seen a pocket a couple times, it's not seen a whole much of use. I mean, don't misunderstand me, it has cut something, but this edge is still essentially perfect. And despite this thing being overpriced, and most CKFs, in my opinion, are overpriced, there's definitely an extra layer of stuff that goes into their knives, so I'm not going to say that there should be the same as just your standard Riot or Wee knife. No. There's definitely something that takes them above the tier of, you know, 350-ish to 400. That said, this thing was like $850, I think. And that's a bit high. This thing does feel like a $600 knife, but it doesn't necessarily quite feel like it should have been a full $800 knife. It is wonderful. And it is a collab, so maybe that added to it. I don't know. In fact, let's see. Beautiful, except for the fuzz that's on it. Beautiful. Okay, what the heck is going on? I'm trying to wipe it off and I'm getting more fuzz on it. It's not working. Oh well. Beautiful hand satin. Beautiful milled textured carbon fiber. Wonderfully done. Aside from the fact that you're transitioning from flat to texture, the transitions are amazingly well done. Zircuti is very interesting. It's sort of really presenting more colors than Zircuti sometimes does, and it also is very different from different angles. I don't know why this stuff. I mean, it's not even always the case with CKF, but this particular example, in my opinion, just has a lot of depth to it. It's an M390, which it says right there. Otherwise, it is a completely sterile, and I may have just screwed up the edge. Did I just screw up the edge? No. I just tapped it on my own my camera holder. Why the camera shook. Yes. As you can see, I am completely deranged today. I got no sleep. So, yeah, this should be interesting. Non-captive pivot. That's one thing I don't like CKF doing. They do it a lot. But I will say I have to actually taken this knife apart to clean it out because it was a little gunky in the beginning. And had absolutely no issues whatsoever with the captive pivot here. In fact, I think if I remember correctly, and again, this was the last time I took this apart was a couple years ago. One and only time, I should say. I think I actually took it out from just one side. Despite being not captive, it was well done enough. But we like to see captive pivots, don't we? Perfectly centered, amazing action. Wonderful. And the design. While being a little bit more blocky, or I guess it doesn't have as much of a chamfer around the edges as you might think it would, or maybe as you would want it to, so it does feel a little more blocky. It kind of goes with the aesthetic with these hard angles, and it's not uncomfortable by any means, right? It's super comfortable. Fits my hand wonderfully. The clip is ultra comfortable and really well done. CKF does usually, for the most part, do a pretty darn good job on their clips. So the design and the maker, the plunge grind could be a little bit better. It's not bad. It's just could be a little bit better. It doesn't quite... it's not that bad. The design is simple and straightforward, but clearly elegantly done and very well done. Oh, I said no more. It's sterile, but of course CKF logo and their little maker's mark, which is fine. This knife is wonderful, and if it were more affordable, it would be recommendable. If when the new ones come out, which I think are going to be a little bit bigger, and the plain titanium one is at like $400 or $450 or something like that, I could see recommending this knife. This is too much, but my word, do I love it, and I'm very happy to have it in my collection. So just wanted to do a little quick recap summary, as I've been doing on some of the knives. Honestly, this is just wonderful. I guess the biggest downside here is that the stop pin is behind the edge. Really don't like that. Really wish it was like an internal stop pin, or they had done something to change that. You can see where it hits right there. And while I'm not using this knife because of how fancy it is, and it's going to have a much longer lifespan because of that, it's just going to be lightly, carefully used and stuff. The stop pin should be just a tiny bit further back. I mean, all it has to do is basically be at that plunge, where the plunge starts. Because you're never going to sharpen into that part. You're never going to get close to that part. The fact that it's just slightly in front of that means you could, if you start to try and expand a choil or something. You do have some height, due to the way it drops down, to give you more time. So it's not too bad on this knife, but it's definitely something in general that we want to see changed going forward on every single knife if possible. Of course, that's not possible. Of course, companies are going to ignore us, just like they ignore us about using T6s. Especially the European and the South African makers, in my opinion, they really like their T6s. I don't know why, but they do. This is great. Can I reverse flick this knife? I don't think I can. You can reverse flick it. You just have to go a little higher. Interesting. I've never actually done that. So I'm learning more new things. Yeah, you can actually get it with the... It's a little bit slick, but... Yeah, you can get it. It just takes a second to get used to. Alright. That was a quick summary and recap of the CKF and Philippe butchered name person collab. Thanks for watching. If you did, consider liking and subscribing. In most of my videos, of course this one can't be linked, I do have links to a lot of the knives down in the description if you'd ever care to check one out or buy one. Like, I have an Amazon link that I usually put up of most knives that can be gotten off of Amazon. I link most things, but I don't get anything or even consideration from anything but the Amazon one. So, should you ever be interested in a more budgety sort of style knife, and there are many that are very, very good, and I do think that would be recommendable. If you're going to get one, grab one through my link if you would. That's all. We're done here. Nice and quick. Thanks for watching. See you guys.